In the year 2000, Bibirion was running out of time. Before I ever traded billions, challenged BNF, or mentored citizen trading,
私は死と隣り合わせの戦いに直面していました。
早く来てくれてありがとう。ご近入に感謝いたします。しかし、検討をした結果、興味がございません。
As a broke college student approaching graduation, Bibirion only had a few months left to find an internship at a company. Bored in uni, Bibirion started virtual trading in 1999, and after 6 months, bought his first stock, borrowing money from his parents. By the fall of 2000, Bibirion was managing about 3 million yen. In the beginning, he was winning by luck, until a big report came out that changed everything. Oracle's board of directors were facing a near-death decision as the tech stock bubble spread throughout Japan. People were losing their life savings and companies were going bankrupt. As one of the largest credit companies in Japan, this meant that Oracle's customers could no longer pay them back. In 1 month, the stock dropped 26.5%. Seeing the dip, he bought, but as the economy worsened, so did Bibirion's trade. Oracle's stock kept sinking. Trying to buy his way out of a loss, Bibirion keeps buying. But the stock was ruthless. By the end of 2000, Oracle was down 76%. Seeing no way out, Bibirion panicked and keeps selling his stock, losing about 500,000 yen. It hurt. He stopped messing around with trading, focusing more time on getting a training internship for graduation. But in 2000, the Japanese economy was in the middle of a recession. There were few jobs left for new graduates. Bibirion felt like he didn't fit in. In June 2000, Bibirion's classmate jumped in front of the Takadanobaba train station. Social pressure, as he couldn't find an internship leading up to his graduation.
私は全てを諦めていました。仕事に就きたいと思ったことは一度もありませんでした。その時点ではトレーディングのシステム開発が私の希望でした。会社は倒産し、不況で人々は職を失い、何が起こるかわからないので、私はプロのギャンブラーという職業を選びました。
But in December 2002 is when he met them and found hope. Bibirion feared becoming an outcast of society. He faced an impossible task. He knew if he was going to make enough money to live off, he only had a few months to get profitable or end up on the street. He would need to level up his knowledge of the stock market quick. But online retail trading was only emerging. In April 1996, Daiwa Securities launched the first online trading in Japan. Bibirion is the first generation. Up to this point, there were no success stories of short-term trading yet. No books, no info, no greatness. Until by luck, he found it. Being a fan of pop group Morning Musume, Bibirion checked out their fan board on 2channel. Reading 2channel, he also found other boards. One that caught his eye. It was about the stock market. Here, everyday people were sharing their trading ideas. Fascinated, he kept digging. One day, he read a post by a man named Sis. The post will forever change his life. Nervous to meet these online traders in December 2002 meetup. The following months, Bibirion worked to improve his trading, battling the markets. Playing shogi and always being alone made him great at long hours of concentration. Bibirion's risk-averse and insecure nature had always cost him. But in trading, it put him ahead. On 2channel, he learned about chart indicators. He started using basic ones in his trading, Since digital trading was new, everyone did the same thing. They would buy fundamentals on discount. They bought strong Japanese brands whose stock price had dropped. But insecure Bibirion wasn't comfortable with it. From his mistake with Orico, Bibirion realized even if it's a valuable company, you can still buy your way down to zero. No company lives forever. Bibirion came up with a new approach, buying and selling based on price movement. Instead of buying good companies, he bought big price movements, only looking at the 5-day and 25-day moving average and volume to determine price movements. With his risk-averse nature, he never shorted or traded on margin, only buying stocks straight. To find big price movements, mostly trading emerging low caps, small caps, and ones with wild price movement. Only day trading or holding it one night. While it was basic at the time, he would later refine his strategy and print billions of yen. In December 2002, Bibirion took the train to Shinjuku, the meeting point of the first two-channel offline meetup. With a 5,000 yen entrance fee, the traders of two-channel shared bottles and talked stocks together. For the first time in his life, he felt like he had made real like-minded friends, brothers to learn from. Some who later became legends of Japanese trading. If I hadn't gone, I might have left the world of stocks a long time ago, the notorious trader Sis later wrote in his book, saying Bibirion was the first one to teach him how to be profitable. After the meetup, he joined two-channel under the name Bibirion. In the beginning, despite the pressure, Bibirion started winning fast. But Sis had big problems. He was desperate to win, but stuck at losing. Sis was looking for profits like everyone else at the time. Cheap fundamentals. He would buy good fundamental companies whose stock price was on a discount, hoping to sell them for a higher price. But it wasn't working. Despite making no profits, he still defended the strategy with pride. Not understanding his mistakes, Sis grew frustrated, until he met Bibirion in Shinjuku. Wanting to win like Bibirion, he decided to study and absorb his ways. He wanted him as a mentor. Bibirion had fought hard and became one of the top leaderboard traders on two-channel right from the start. However, unlike other leaderboard legends like Yua and F3 who stayed quiet, Bibirion loved helping other traders. He got a reputation as the helpful older brother of the board. With few friends offline, the two-channel conversations brought him a lot of joy. Wanting to help Sis make money, he began sharing all the secrets behind his unique trading strategy. Slowly befriending Bibirion, chatting back and forth between trades, and asking lots of questions, Sis started absorbing Bibirion's trading skill. Or in his own words, it's the reason why I changed by buying and selling with emphasis on fundamentals to buying and selling with emphasis on price movement. By now, Bibirion was improving his basic price movement strategy by looking where no other Japanese traders were looking. While Japanese trading experts all said the same, buy big safe companies from the topics, Bibirion did the opposite. He dived deep into risky emerging stocks, making the Nasdaq and the Mother's Index his hunting ground. Bibirion didn't risk holding companies, it was all about price movement. And to his surprise, the emerging market moves were a lot bigger. Bibirion learned the huge and aggressive price movement of the emerging market made it easier to find common price patterns. Human emotions moved these smaller markets. Seeing the genius in his mentor, Sis and Bibirion began hustling together with one of their iconic stock heists, the Topics ad. One of their iconic stock trades was Dido Drinko, a company that started as a simple energy medicine drink but grew into a vending machine behemoth. Bibirion had told Sis about it on the train. As Sis read up on the news, he knew exactly what his mentor was aiming for. it will be added to the topics. When it's added, topics-linked investment funds pick it up automatically. In those days, some big Japanese institutions, much like a S&P 500 index ETF, only bought the biggest Japanese companies, automatically buying whenever a company entered the topics. Bibirion, insecure and hating risk, tried to teach Sis to take small bets. But Sis never listened, and he loved betting the house. Together, they inspired each other. Obsessed, trading long, painful days, all fighting for the 2-channel leaderboard top spots. Despite having no life besides trading, Bibirion and Sis still lost often. But it was enough for their account sizes to grow. Although stubborn at first, trading alongside his mentor, Sis finally started making profits. Proud, Bibirion felt like he had a new best friend. But the mentorship didn't last long, as success can change emotions quick. Summer of 2003, the markets were changing, and Bibirion felt betrayed. There was a market recovery into a rising bull market. Despite Japanese markets finally taking a breather, 2-channel wasn't all fun and games. The trading was cutthroat. While Bibi liked to share with others, the cocky Sis liked to make fun of people. And his mentor was no exception. In the summer of 2003, Sis began learning the methods of Yua, who was on top of the leaderboard and 3 times the size of Bibirion. Sis was convinced he had learned everything he could from Bibirion, and he started making fun of him, claiming he will surpass him in no time. Feeling disrespected, Bibirion watched as other traders he helped jumped in to crack jokes. Betrayed, hurt, and angry, Bibirion refused to let Sis win. That summer, they clashed heads. Sis went to war, believing Yua had the best strategy, simply riding the bull. He started riding the bull through a continuous buying of pension funds, simply riding the waves up and relying on the market's long-term positive drift for profits. While Bibirion's plan was different, he doubled down and fine-tuned the emerging price strategy. For profitable trades, Bibirion relied on 3 golden moves. 1. Buying companies soon to be added to the topics. 2. Front-running foreign institutions' buying announcements. And 3. His most famous strategy, the infamous emerging shotgun. As he battled for the top spot, the emerging shotgun became his infamous money printer. Here's how he did it. First, he watched the emerging index for a cross in the 5-day or 25-day moving average. He watched the JASDAQ average for trading the overall trend and cross, but switched to the mothers for trading the movement during the day. Next, as the break in the cross formed, within 5 minutes, he buys around 10 positions in emerging stocks. Always buying spread across different market industries to spread the risk. Lastly, for all his stocks, he placed a tight stop loss right under his buying price. Even though most got stopped out as they hit the stop loss, it only took 1 to 3 stocks to shoot up for him to make good profits. Like shooting a shotgun, he only needed a few shells to hit. For it to work, it relied on 2 conditions. 1. Individual emerging stocks are moving following the emerging index. 2. Individual emerging stocks should all be moving together. If one goes up, all the others should too. Going head-to-head and trying to outcompete each other, it forced them all to take more risks, bolder plays, and refine their strategies. Despite the constant stress, sleepless hours, and toxicity, Bibirion pushed himself further. Weeks of learning from his losses and sleepless non-stop trading schedule, Bibirion managed to get a little better, learning to pay close attention to the volume. If there was strong volume together with the cross, it increased the success rate of the emerging shotgun. Without it, the market trend often did not change. Also, because he kept trading the same move over and over, he got a feel for doubling down on the shotgun winners. See, whenever emerging shotgun trade went right, the stock price goes up big. So to squeeze more juice out of them, He began to increase the position size of the winners as they shot up for more profits per trade. Suffering through many dark nights, that summer, Bibirion and Sis tested their limits. Not wanting to lose, they pushed each other further. But by June 2003, the leaderboard showed Bibirion's genius. Sis was no match. Despite their toxicity, they remained friends. For more than 20 years, until I graduated from university, I spent most of my days commuting between school, home, and cram school. The only other place I went to was the Shojiho in Sendagaya. I never had many friends. 2-channel is all I got, although there were many times I thought of hitting him. 2-channel hit a turning point. That battle started a rivalry that would soon scar Bibirion forever, as they were about to meet a rival trader that exceeded all their imagination. At the end of 2003, Bibirion had organized another 2-channel meetup. This time was at the Fruit Parlor in Ginza. While he didn't know it at the time, this would later be known as the legendary Fruit Parlor meetup amongst Japanese traders to this day. While enjoying their gourmet fruits, a new person showed up. After a small talk, they realized this man was on a whole different level. By far, the biggest Japanese bedroom trader they had ever met. Blown away by his account size, Bibirion and Sis asked him questions. They couldn't believe it and wanted another meeting with laptop proof. An account size they could never dream of. Blown away, Sis and Bibirion left super inspired on the train ride back. Soon after, on January 18th, 2004, this trader joined 2-channel under the legendary name BNF. The day BNF hit 300 million, Bibirion hit 100 million yen. High on life and with inspiring brothers, Bibirion strived to reach an even higher level. He wanted to be number one. But he never imagined how fast his whole world would change. After last year's growth, the tide shifted. While the Japanese economy continued its recovery in the first half thanks to export growth with China, in the second half, everything changed. Slower growth from countries like the US and China meant less export demand, coupled with a rise in crude oil meant a change in the market. From the middle of 2004, a lame market entered, an opponent Bibirion had never met before. After an online catfish incident, Bibirion had taken a few months break from 2-channel. By the time he was back, he was having a hard time.
つまり、もうマーケットを手に入れることができなかったのです。出現が一方通行の爆発のようでなければ不可能だ。
A market that isn't clearly going up or down turned out to be his toughest opponent yet. Volume in the emerging market was drying up. While he still had other strategies, Bibirion always relied on his emerging shotgun to aggressively grow his assets. But now that the market wasn't going in one direction, it became impossible. Without a clear direction in the index, the emerging stock movements were random. Bibirion was getting his ass beat. After a few painful months, losing more and more, it got really bad in October. His emerging shotgun completely broke, and the topics ad and foreigner front-running decreased a lot as the constant institutional buying was fading. One by one, his strategies were failing. Meanwhile, Sis was growing his assets aggressively. He had taken advantage of the UFJ bank boom. With BNF in front of him and Sis breathing down his neck, Bibirion was trading more than ever. Feeling the pressure, his emotions spilled over into his trades. His price reading accuracy dropped further. It felt like the wind was disappearing from underneath his sails. Stock trading was all he knew. He didn't want to lose to the others. He was desperately searching for a new angle. On November 20th, 2004, Bibirion meets up with Sis and BNF for advice. They even convinced BNF to bring his laptop to prove his assets. After the inspiring meeting, he tries again, but without clear buying strength signal from the index, Bibirion couldn't figure out if the individual price movements were genuine or deception. Bibirion could no longer win. It felt heartbreaking. Bibirion started falling further behind BNF, while Sis was catching up. To help the older brother, a lot of two-channel traders reached out to give advice. But Bibirion had been on top since the beginning. His pride and frustration made him too stubborn. He didn't want to hear it from just anybody. He needed to hear it from the guys on top. At the time, BNF was printing profits. BNF watched which stock sectors received new inflows of funds and bought the laggers. It relied heavily on being able to read the forces of continuous buying from investment trusts and pensions. The arrogant Sis told Bibirion to try it. While it seemed similar enough, Bibirion had a hard time. Bibirion traded watching the emerging index. He had a hard time trading a list of individual charts in different sectors, especially spotting their underlying forces. While it came natural to Sis, Bibirion couldn't pull it off. Part of what made Bibirion successful up to this point was his simplicity, which this strategy lacked. His frustration clouded his mind. Disappointed in his mentor, Sis continued being Sis. Reaching his breaking point, Bibirion lashed out and got into a big argument, reminding Sis, without me, he would have quit the markets a long time ago. Up all night, walking, he had lost his motivation to earn money. Frustrated with the success of Sis and BNF, the pressure was too much. He was tired of competing with the people around him. After both hitting 400 million, that March, Sis surpassed him. On March 23, 2005, he reached his boiling point. After a bad streak and a terrible trade, Bibirion felt consumed with dark thoughts. He visited a doctor the same day. He started blocking out market info and stopped reading blogs. He stopped trading. Frustrated with trading and envying his friends, Bibirion realized he had done nothing else. What started off as stress to pay the bills became an obsession that grew into deep resentment, an obsession to stay on top. But his timing couldn't be worse. The market was about to enter the biggest bull run since the start of his trading career. Bibirion quit in March, and by June, Japan's market was in a powerful bull run, the exact one-way market Bibirion had been praying for. With the positive market jump, it was easy for his rivals to print profits. Sis and BNF started experiencing rapid growth. While the market soared and his rivals grew, Bibirion spent his months just walking around Tokyo without an errand to run. But on December 8, 2005, an accidental typo by a Mizuho security employee caused a huge error. They mispriced the share. BNF took charge, taking almost 50% in the company, and Sis followed. While in the meantime, Bibirion felt like he needed something new. Bibirion decided to get lost in his hobbies. He launched a new hobby blog, pursuing his love for eating out, trying local gourmet foods, reading, and exploring Tokyo. He even started working towards a Tokyo tour guide certificate. But the markets wait for no one. The Mizuho trade became one of the biggest trades in history. So big, the trade even got covered in newspapers. Both Sis and BNF profited millions. Despite his freedom, Bibirion couldn't help but think about Two Channel and feel envy towards his friends. He was no longer a top trader. A lot of billionaire Japanese traders were made in those years. So his 400 million became a lot less impressive. Falling into a dark mental state, Bibirion gives up his two-channel account and password. With no blogs or two-channel friends, Bibirion had a lot of lonely nights finding himself. That year, Sis grew from 300 million yen to 3 billion yen, and BNF grew from 1 billion yen to 10 billion yen, while Bibirion remained stagnant at 400 million yen. While he was able to chase his hobbies, the cost felt painful. Bibirion got left behind. Seeing the news, Bibirion couldn't help but miss trading. Now retired, Bibirion realized his hobbies were not as fulfilling as he had hoped. When trading became about being better than others, it lost its fun. However, no longer being able to catch up to his friends freed him. In time, Bibirion's envy slowly began to fade. Reflecting on his past, he realized it wasn't the big wins or being on top that brought him joy. It was having his first friends. Like-minded brothers, all struggling to achieve the same goal. What brought him joy wasn't profits, but 2-channel and battling alongside his friends. Slowly, Bibirion started trading again, but this time would be without his ego and the constant pressure. Instead of forcing daily trades, he was now taking his time.
地盤が良くないと勝てない。
To further cut the pressure of stock trading, Bibirion buys a Tokyo apartment for 70 million yen in cash. He decided he will only trade with limited capital instead of his entire portfolio. Ever since the JCOM incident, there was a big spike in Japanese retail traders. So in early 2006, Bibirion reopens a trading blog. And he started making magazine appearances. It was the first time he revealed his face, with 2-channel saying he looked like Hunter x Hunter character Goto. Even though he still needed a lot of work, Bibirion wanted to bring back the joy of trading alongside his brothers. On January 16th, a large financial inspection into a Japanese company, LiveDoor, shocked the market. Revitalized, Bibirion was determined to show them he still got it. But he quickly learned this would become the toughest challenge he had ever faced. If LiveDoor was the match that lit the Japanese market on fire, then the emerging markets were like the wind spreading the flame. More and more stories of financial fraud. But as the dust settled, it created a split. Investors quickly realized most of the risk was in the upcoming companies, aka the emerging index. A lot of them started pivoting to the Nikkei for a recovery. It began creating long-term damage in the emerging market. Despite how bad the emerging markets were, Bibirion decided to stick with it. It was the market he knew, the market that made him. He knew the perfect setup would come, as long as he had the courage to sit on the sideline. After months of patience, in July-August, the emerging index was starting to bottom out on the short term. If the index turned bullish, other emerging stocks could follow. Feeling drained and tired of coming up short, he started to notice a move. The 5-day and 25-day moving average slowed down and started coming together for a cross. Hesitant at first, since the longer trend was still bearish. But with the recent bottoming of the Nikkei, Bibirion felt like there should be a tiny bounce. He buys Yahoo, SBI, E-Trade after seeing a bounce emerge in the Rakuten stock price. By afternoon, the stock charts confirmed his move. Volume went up. He bought more, choosing to hold it overnight. The next morning, he was confident buying new shotgun positions. Until in the afternoon, when the movement in emerging index started to fluctuate. He closes out SBI completely and most of Yahoo. Also closing out Apelix, Fullcast, Zentech, but he held to Carabao as it was skyrocketing and even stopped high. He blocked his results that day, but the small sign of hope didn't last. The next few months would become his toughest fight for survival. The Shanghai shock was the final nail in the coffin. Emerging became choppy and sluggish, nobody wanting to buy the risk. As the Nikkei recovered, the emerging didn't. Fighting through red days as fellow 2-channel traders kept winning. Watching him struggle, other 2-channel traders couldn't help but make jokes. With Sis telling him how foolish he was for not switching up his market, making it unnecessarily hard for himself. The toxic comments even went beyond trading, as Sis and Bibi often fought on 2-channel. For months, the market at 2-channel kept beating him down, with painful losses, toxicity of 2-channel, and sleep medication clouding his mind. Mentally, it got so bad, he started envisioning himself walking off the balcony. Money is important, but I also want things that are worth doing. Health and love. I think I would be happy if I satisfied these things. Until he made his final post.
トヨタは初の営業赤字に転落するという見通しを
Aber es ist natürlich ein extrem eine ganz extreme Unsicherheit. La bolsa española no levanta cabeza y hoy ha vuelto a vivir una sesión a la baja con un descenso del 2,9. आज भारत समेत दुनिया के तमाम बड़े बाजारों ने जिस तरह से गोता लगाया उससे सवाल तो उठा
そして番組後半では内容を変更します。
および当期純利益が四半期として過去最高を記録いたしました。It wouldn't just affect a part of the financial markets, it would affect the average citizen. So I decided to act and act boldly.
After the sudden news of American bank stocks collapsing, the world speculated on the cause. The headlines spread fear throughout the markets, and the Japanese stock market was no exception. After a month of panic, the Nikkei, JSQ average, and the JASDAQ index began showing signs of a rebound, the chance Bibirion was waiting for. On September 25, the market showed a golden cross. He enters with his emerging shotgun. On the 26th, Bibirion sold 150,000 shares of Ishihara Sangyo, up 14.1% at 80 million that day. On the 27th, he expands his shotgun, but also sells the upside too early, up 7.4 million and 8.9%. On the 28th, the emerging's rise topped out from profit-taking, cutting losses on Da Vinci, Ryukon, Kenedix, Awful, Fulsen, and Axis. On October 1st, not seeing clear direction, he sits it out, only buying at the end of the day as the direction begins to form. October 2nd, seeing volume skyrocket and prices begin to bottom out, he continues to hold. He's up 7 million that day. On the 3rd, multiple shots land, a crazy 21.2% gain. He's up 20 million as Two Channel champions the return of Siz's mentor, Bibirion's counterattack. On the 4th, he suffered a slight loss, but not much changed. Pullbacks were within expectations. Siz made profit that day, but still refused to acknowledge his mentor's comeback. On the 5th, despite the rise in the JSQ, some of his positions took a hit. He took a loss. Bibirion takes a small 4-day break to refocus, also further reducing his sleep dosage. On the 9th, he tries again, as a cross is close to forming, but it isn't clear. It was difficult. He backs down and puts patience over greed. Not seeing the movement he wanted, the next few days, Bibirion sits it out. Finally, by the 17th, the market started showing signs of a cross. On the 18th, the perfect market condition lined up. Bibirion fired up his positions, his exact emerging shotgun play. His portfolio grew by 6.9% the same day. With a carryover from yesterday and taking profits on Mixi and Rakuten, Bibirion makes 13.5 million, up 11.4%. By Monday the 22nd, Bibirion was forced to close his positions as the JSQ index was starting to bottom out, closing 9.7 million and 7.3% that day. Right on the mark, he sells everything on the 23rd. He's up 5.3 million at 3.7%, while Sizz was losing. On the 24th, in a rare and surprising move, Bibirion opens a 500 share short on Rakuten. Feels like he can do no wrong. The next day, going back to the other side, emerging shotgun once again. However, the index began to move negative below the 5-day line. Hesitant, he begins to wonder if the emerging has hit his limit. But after 2 days, the king is back, up 30 million, almost 20%. He takes profits on Mixi, DNA, Fan Community, Duango, Cyber Agent, and cut losses on Naturu. On the 30th, the move didn't continue, and he cut his losses. While he lost 4.4 million, or 2.3%, Sizz was losing a lot more. However, on the 31st, things began to look choppy. While he was up 2.8%, the markets were getting harder to read. On November 1st, the market moved against him, and he was down 4 million, or 2.3%. On the 2nd, he was up, but anxious as the price moved below the 5-day line, and even Sizz was losing. On the 5th, he's up slightly, but it feels like the wins keep shrinking. And it didn't take long for the movement to change. By the 6th, he's down 2.5%, and he feels like he's losing grip of the market. On the 7th, trying to refocus, he doesn't trade. But reading the markets, he feels like it's over. On the 8th, against his better judgment, the next day he trades again. While he's up 3.8 million, his arrogance would cost him. Bibirion couldn't stay away, and the market took his money the next day. 8.7 million loss for trading when he knew it was over. While he was pissed, Sis finally began to acknowledge his greatness. By the 13th, he's down even further, dropping to 171 million. I'm not sure why I bought. Angry with his greed, Bibirion takes a 2-week break, burnt out. By refusing the recession, Bibirion would challenge the market one last time. On the 27th, as the JSQ index showed promise, Bibirion made one final emerging shotgun play. Little movement at first, his positions were up slightly, 2.3%. But the next day, his calculated re-entry paid off. His emerging shotgun prints profits. He's up 23 million, or 13.1%. Holding it until the next morning, selling all his shotgun positions. From 72 million to 204 million, Bibirion almost tripled his money in 2 months. One of the most legendary trading performances in history, making him a Japanese day trading legend, the emerging god of Japanese day trading, Bibirion. Soon after, he began disappearing from 2channel, rarely updating his blog. 2 days before the market freeze in October 2008, Bibirion decided to take a break and never return. Even though he never returned to the blogs, there was one final mysterious sighting. In a rare interview with one of the staff of the Akihabara Casino Quest, in the background there was a familiar face. It turned out, Sis decided to open up a casino in February 2016, bringing Bibirion along as an investor, becoming the casino's president in October. Despite their tension, in dark times, Sis and Bibirion still met almost daily. Despite their weird toxicity on 2channel, they enjoyed playing Mahjong together offline. While they sold their casino ownership to third parties in 2019, according to Sis' recent book, he estimated his friend Bibirion made around a few billion yen. While he's no longer active and often forgotten, created a way to trade and win faster than anyone else. His legend became known as the emerging god of Japanese day traders. Thank you guys for your patience and watching. Stay tuned for the next one.